It would be the height of hypocrisy if we focus only on what's happening now without addressing the actions of our leaders, mainly in the UK and the USA, in causing what is happening today. To understand the effects of where we are in recent history, or as far as recent history is concerned, we need to start from 1998. The reason I picked that year is that 1998 was the year where Iraq was on the verge of losing the war against Iran, but there was a turning point. That turning point was that Saddam used chemical weapons against the Iranian soldiers, and Saddam knew where those Iranian soldiers were because of intelligence from the USA. He launched a campaign of terror, unleashing these awful weapons on the Iranian soldiers, and that ended the Iran-Iraq war. And at this point, Iraq and the USA were friends. Not long after that, Saddam turned his attention to the oil in Kuwait. He had issues with the quota, and he wanted some of their oil. I don't know the exact details, but it was basically based around that. And there was a famous gaffe by the US ambassador, what was her name, I forgot. Yes, April Glaspie, if any of you remember that name or if it rings any bells. And in what is now an infamous interview with the Iraq leader, April Glaspie told Saddam, "We have no opinion on the Arab-Arab conflicts like your border disagreement with Kuwait." The US State Department had earlier told Saddam that Washington had no special defense or security commitments to Kuwait. The United States may not have intended to give Iraq the green light, but that is effectively what it did. Not long afterwards, at this point, it was Bush was president, old Bush, Bush 1. On the 2nd of August 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait, which didn't go down very well. So now he wasn't friends with the USA, he was their enemy, because the USA had agreements in place with Kuwait, so they rushed to preserve their oil supply. This led to Desert Storm, which launched on the 17th of January 1991. Now, you would have thought if Desert Storm were justified, it would have been an offensive to push Iraq out of Kuwait, and that would or should have been it if they were going to engage. But our bomb-happy leaders were not happy with that, and they took it as an opportunity to basically bomb Iraq flat. We all remember the narrative at that time, but as we all know, we need to take what we're told with a pinch of salt. So, following that, the narrative escalated through the 90s, and the excuse was weapons of mass destruction, which I'm sure you all remember. On the 20th of March 2003, the USA and the UK, under Blair, invaded Iraq. And this was under Bush 2, the cowboy. The UK did not want war. The people of this country never want war. We saw some of the largest protests in history against this war. The figures range from between 750,000 to 1 million protesting against this war in London. But the lies about weapons of mass destruction continued. As we all know, no weapons were found, but as Saddam was removed, Iraq deteriorated into civil war, and this created resentment and tension throughout the Middle East. Under Obama, who incidentally dropped 10 times more bombs than Bush 2, the cowboy, the Arab Spring began, and that began on the 17th of December 2010 when a Tunisian set himself on fire in front of the governor's building in Tunisia. This quickly spread to Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, Sudan, Jordan, Syria, Yemen and Oman. These are all a direct result of what happened before. On the 15th of March 2011, the Syrian Civil War began. We all know that eventually that deteriorated into utter chaos and led to the rise of ISIS. In October 2011, Gaddafi was removed from power. Now, despite the narrative, despite the fact whether he was good or bad or whatever he did, that was not our country, and I have no doubt, especially from Libyans who I knew at the time and know now, that the standard of living of the average Libyan then was far better than it is now. And let's not go into the conspiracy theories about oil and dollars and gold and all of that. You can research that for yourselves. I'm just dealing with the process. And we all know what happened with ISIS. Later, Gordon Brown claimed that the Pentagon knew Saddam Hussein did not have WMDs. Whether he had simply had some sort of revelation, or whether he was simply trying to absolve himself for responsibility, being party to it, to the first domino in a devastating chain of which the effects are still being felt to this day. The UK and the USA destabilised the whole region. Our leaders have blood on their hands because this was the start of the Great Migration. Other countries simply began to join the exodus to Europe and the UK and beyond. And it is important that we understand that we know the facts, and also that we keep in mind this behaviour was cross-party. Desert Storm under John Major, Conservative. Invasion of Iraq under Blair, Labour. In the US, Bush, Republican. Clinton, Obama, Democrat. This is cross-party, and this gathered pace. It was further accelerated by Merkel in 2015, and now Germany's putting up borders. It's breaking its own convention on the sharing of migrants, and the whole thing is a complete and utter mess. In my next video, I'm actually going to publish a wall of shame with the name of every single MP who voted to invade Iraq. Because, as I've said before, not one of them, had they gone to their constituencies, would have had the support of their voters. They blatantly not only did not have the support, but their electorate was telling them they did not want this war, and yet they voted for it and continued to peddle a lie that destabilised an entire region and beyond. That's all for this video. Thank you very much. See you next time.